Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books and marketing expert covering the woke boycott. Bud Light is in more trouble than ever. This week's sales report came in. It's still down tremendously, down 1% less than it was the week prior. 1% is not enough to fix their problems. And as Anson Frederick said, who's already commented on this week's sales improvement, he said, this isn't that much of an improvement at all because they have had such tremendous deep discounting, massive rebates, massive attempts to increase their numbers at tremendous expense. For example, being able to buy the beer at 14 cents a can or get the beer for free. 1% is not going to pull them out of the trouble that they're in, particularly, as he explained, because their business is at a really, really critical phase right now. They have until the end of August to fix their sales figures. If they are not fixed, they will permanently lose shelf space when the shelf space is reset in September. That means stores will not carry Bud Light anywhere near to the level that they used to carry it if the sales don't improve. And let's face it, there's nothing to think that sales will improve. If free isn't going to do it, there's not a lot else that they can really do. Let's get into the story. Before we do, please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notification and give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate you guys. I'm trying to get to 25,000 subscribers, so if you can subscribe, please do subscribe. Thank you so much. Coming from Newsweek, Bud Light sales down again in latest week since boycott calls. Sales for Bud Light were down again in the week ending on May 27th, according to recent data. It shows that the company is still being affected by the backlash surrounding its sponsorship deal with Dylan Mulvaney. Newsweek has seen Bud Light suffer a 23.9% drop in sales and a 27.8% tumble in volume year over year, just over a week, ending on May 27th. This is according to the consultant that we all use, Bump William Consulting, BWC, because they have the real data on what's actually being sold in stores. It doesn't come from the company. It's not an estimated projection. It's real data of stores scanning UPC codes when somebody buys something. Can't get more accurate than that. The decline was overall much less steep than once reported by the company in the previous week, when according to BWC, it lost 25.7% in sales and 29.5% in volume. So the improvement was from 27.8% in volume to 29.5% in volume. It is a little better than 1% under a 2% improvement. In its report, BWC says that the improvement of Bud Light and other Anheuser-Busch brands compared to the previous week's declines could be a sign that, quote, perhaps the bottom has been hit and we're seeing a turnaround in performance. I mean, that's very optimistic thinking, and they're always optimistic at Bump Williams Consulting. The problem, of course, is, are you going to always make the beer free? Because if you're not going to always keep the price at 14 cents per can or free, it really isn't comparable. Obviously, if they didn't have those rebates, they would be moving a lot less beer. How much less? God only knows. And another thing is, while I do trust Bump Williams Consulting, I do wonder how it is that distributors in Florida, for example, can be suffering 60% losses on their Bud Light business, as was cited in this article in ABC News. And in another article I had, they were off 40%. At another distributor, they were off very deeply in Staten Island, like 50%. The numbers are all high. I don't really see many places that say that they were off 5% to offset that. It's got to be that the deep discounted beer is being moved to someone who ordinarily wouldn't be buying that beer. The big question that you'd have is, well, okay, they are selling more beer here, but maybe some less beer there. What about the averages of their competitors? What are their competitors' numbers? Because if Bud Light goes down, whatever, 25%, 27%, and the equivalent amount goes up by their competitors, then you know people are switching. Once they switch, they're not switching back. And while sales trends for Bud Light and some of the other brands under Anheuser-Busch umbrella dropped, other beers like Modelo, Coors Light, Miller Lite, and Yuengling Lager thrived in the week ending May 27th. Sales for Coors Light were up by 26.3%, according to the BWC report, while figures for Miller Lite, Yuengling Lager, and Modelo Especial were up 23%, 36% and 9.5% respectively. Volume trends were up 4.7% for Modelo, 17.3% for Coors Light, 17.3% for Miller Lite, and 30.9% for Yingling Lager. Right now, Modelo has been relishing in the increased sales, with the company's U.S. distributor CEO saying Modelo is now the number one beer over the last 4 weeks, the number one dollar business in the beer business. We thought that would take a little longer. We've been very fortunate that that's gone on a little quicker than we'd anticipated. But what a great position to be in on the beer side. Yeah, that is a good position to be in. Now, Modelo, of course, is owned by Anheuser-Busch also. Anheuser-Busch benefits from Modelo doing well, but they're not benefiting from their other competing brands that are all up this much. How is it that these brands that they compete with could be up if they weren't taking business away from Bud Light? And we've seen that week after week after week. Of course, they're taking business away from Bud Light. Now, because Bud Light hasn't turned things around as of Memorial Day, the start of the summer season, which is absolutely crucial for beer, and it's when people make a lot of their decisions about buying, they're completely screwed. There is no way they're going to turn things around for this summer. This was coming from the Daily Mail. Bud Light running out of time and could lose market share forever. Brand will lose retail shelf space to Miller and Coors if they cannot reverse plunging sales, warns ex-Anheuser-Busch executive. That's Anson Fredericks. And he explains very simply that in the fall and in the spring, shelf space gets reset by retailers. They look at what they've been selling, they look at what they haven't been selling, and they look at whatever is up and coming. And the beers that are growing are the ones that get extra shelf space. If you don't have the shelf space available for your beer, even if your marketing is really hot, you will sell out of it and then it won't get replaced. So even if all of a sudden, after the shelf space was reduced, they did some Bud Light commercial that got people excited about buying Bud Light for some reason, they would have less beer in the store that people could buy it from. They also keep less backstock and less inventory of the beer that doesn't sell as much. So it's not replenished. They don't resupply it as quickly. Also, drivers are not making the money they used to. People are leaving the business. Drivers who work on a commission basis selling Bud Light are losing each up to $2,000 a month, which is about a third of their income because sales are completely tanked for Bud Light. If you don't have stores stocking the beer the way that they used to stock them, and you don't have the same sales reps out there selling, because as this article says, they can't stay with the beer distributors as sales reps selling Bud Light if they can't make their money. And there's just so much that the beer distributors can do to subsidize it. And it doesn't look like Bud Light, the manufacturer, is stepping in to save these salespeople either. It doesn't mean they're all going to quit, but it does mean the best salespeople, and I can tell you from personal experience, great salespeople are what we call rainmakers. They really make the difference. They bring money in, they get out there, they make things happen. When you lose those key people, Anson Fredericks, former president of distribution for Anheuser-Busch, has said clearly they are going to lose their excellent salespeople, and they're going to be stuck with a lot weaker salespeople because they're not selling enough product to keep those guys making their money. If you think about it, if you were a sales rep selling Bud Light at this point, and people are yelling at you in the street, throwing their shopping carts at you, and you're embarrassed to be seen with the Bud Light brand, would you not immediately go and look for something else to do? So time has really run out for Bud Light. They've created a total fiasco with this Dylan Mulvaney promotion that they still haven't come clean about and apologized to their customers about, and just said, hey, we made a big mistake. We never expected to hurt anybody over this. Just wanted to get some extra people interested in our beer. We realized we didn't think it through. We made a big mistake. We hope you can give us another chance. They haven't said anything near that. All they've tried to do is to say, oh, it was just one can. It was just one post. It wasn't even an advertisement. Basically blaming the customers for overreaction. They're very happy to blame you, but not willing to take responsibility. And when it all comes down to it, this is all Larry Fink at BlackRock pushing his agenda for diversity, equity, and inclusion, for ESG, forcing companies to not focus on making a profit, but to focus on their stakeholder capitalism. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Did you think they might be able to turn things around by now? Did you think that maybe the sales would, instead of being off in the 20s%, maybe they'd only be off in the tens of percent and things would kind of reverse, especially with all the free rebates they're offering and 14-cent beer cans? Did you think that they had a chance to turn it around at that point? Or did you think, no, that it's just not going to work? Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Always love to see your ideas. Really appreciate your comments. Also, please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another video. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.